And welcome back to episode 109 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
I mean, Carl.
Well, Carl, first of all, some quick apology to our listeners, as this episode is coming a few days later than is planned. As I know we said before, we try to get our episodes out on a weekly basis, though we are a few days behind. Due to the unforeseen failure of the power in my studio/office on Friday when we were due to
And the
record
domino
this.
effect.
And the domino effect that happened afterwards due to sort of scheduling and everything else meant that we're recording this now a couple of days later than planned. But we have still got a full pack show for you today. The power did come back on, I should say, though subsequently killed a server or two, didn't it, Carl?
It may have done, yes.
I mean, just anybody was interested, I thought to myself, oh, the power's off. Great. I'll take that opportunity to do a couple of hardware swaps in my servers, in my data center. Somehow, long story short, managed to break the CMOS battery holder off one of my servers. Yes, I'll just leave that thought there with you. For anybody that knows anything about hardware, motherboards, CMOS batteries, yes, it was not a good afternoon on Friday afternoon.
No, it was
enough
not.
said. Enough said. Well then, as I said, we have got a full show. So we're going to talk everything from Nvidia to Musk to Google to Apple to Microsoft to Sony to Meta to Amazon. And then we're going to spend the last part of the show this afternoon, or this evening, I should say, talking around the Apple event that happened the other week. We decided to not go straight into the Apple event as soon as we got the press release, I should say, and talk about it, because we wanted to let the news sink in a little bit to find out what was happening. And there's been a couple of interesting things that have come out since the press release, haven't there, Carl?
We have, yeah.
Including the price increase, which we'll talk a little bit around Apple subscription services. But on that note, then let's get kicking off the first story of the week, then, which is unsurprisingly Nvidia doing a U-turn on the 4080 launch. Then
Just a tad. I mean, it didn't last long, did it? So,
no,
if you remember rightly, we launched a 4090 and not one, but two 4080s a couple of weeks back, didn't we?
which wasn't confusing at all.
Not confusing. We had a 16 gig and a 12 gig one, aka a 4070, which is what it really is.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah.
so Nvidia have kind of backtracked and kind of said, the RTX 4080 12 gig is a fantastic graphics card, but it's not named right. Surprise. Having two GPUs with a 48 designation is confusing.
Well, it wasn't just confusing. I think it was absolutely bizarre marketing as well, wasn't it? Because it didn't get, there was no real gain, and everybody saw that when the press release came out and then the event came out to show the model numbers and the listings. It just didn't. It made no sense, did it? It just didn't sit well within that lineup.
No.
And as you say, if they'd called it a 4070, I don't think for a second anybody would have gone, "Oh, you just gone thanks." But because it was a 4080, it just you're like, "What? That doesn't make sense."
Yeah, and it wasn't like they were identical hardware just with 12 or 16 gig of RAM if you wanted a bit of extra VRAM in it. They were completely different hardware.
Yeah, completely different. I mean, so you had the 12 gig model then, wasn't it? But 12 gig and a 16 model, as you say.
Yeah.
So the 12 gig model then, if I got my notes right here, had 7,680 CUDA cores, 40 shader T-flops, 639 tensor T-flops, 92 RT T-flops. I love these T-flops. A base clock of 2.3. 2.31, just to be getting there, to boost up to 2.61. And of course, they say it was 12 gig, and it started around the $900 mark, wasn't it, give or take?
It was.
The 16 gig was nearly 2,000 more CUDA cores, wasn't it? 9,700 plus.
Yeah.
A base clock of 2.21 up to 2.5. So the clocks were slightly different, weren't they? Which is interesting. 780 tensor to versus 639, 113 RTs to 92, and 49 shader to 40. So not just a slight difference, quite a leap up, really, wasn't it, in performance?
And the biggest one to me, though, was the memory bus on it.
Oh, God,
so
yeah.
The 4080 12 gig had a 192-bit bus, which is the same as a 3060.
It just... I don't get it. I don't understand what they were doing here. And I think what was Nvidia? Nvidia's statement, I think, it summed it up,
Yeah,
didn't it? Really,
it was. Yeah, it's
you know.
confusing. We made a
Yes,
mistake.
yes. We shouldn't have named this the 4080. We should have done the 4070, but
Or
we can't
60
do
or
that now.
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
So
But
they've pulled it. Then it's gone,
they
isn't it?
they have pulled it, which now means the cheapest 4000 series card at the moment is $1,200.
Nuts, absolute
Yeah,
nuts.
I think, as we said back then, they've gone crazy with the pricing. They've like, well, people were willing to pay this for the 3000 series, even though we launched it cheap. Obviously, the scalpers got in, the chip shortage, and it made everyone pay over the odds. But people were still buying them. So you know what? We'll price the 4000 series a similar way.
Is that just called scalping?
Yeah, just done by the manufacturer. Price
Yeah,
gouging, isn't it?
price gouging. Yes, that's more appropriate. But
Mm.
I just, I really would love a 40 series card, because I'm in that bucket now. But I'm actually genuinely thinking, that maybe I'll go for a 3090.
Yeah, or let's see what AMD have got.
Well,
They've
yeah,
got.
or the
I'm
AMD
sure it's
point, but
this week, isn't it? The
eh,
RDNA 3 launch. Yeah, I think the third. I want to say. So is that Thursday? So we might have
um,
some news for next
yes.
week's podcast. But AMD might come in, give similar performance at a lot cheaper. I just don't know.
Well, yeah, so yeah, you're right. So on the 3rd of November, you say they've got the RDNA 3, which is the 7000 series cards, isn't it? That are
Yeah,
due to be released. So we should see what's it? One of them is apparently called the RTX 7090 XT. Um, we've got there's also another card known as the XTX that could arrive alongside it, and the XTX is apparently rumored to be the 4090 rival, but that may not show up until the end of the year. Apparently,
right.
that's the thought process around it.
I think this is the one where they're going chiplets. Obviously, they've done
Yeah,
chiplets on the CPUs. They're going chiplets on the GPUs now. So I'm kind of keen to see how that one plays out.
but there is still a concern. I did see, I think it was yesterday, I was reading that there could be a price rise on it because of the 10%. AMD have raised prices by 10% since this time last year,
Yeah.
and that's because of TSMC
Yes.
having their prices increase, isn't it? And also there could be a delay in shipping. Well, we're all used to that, aren't we? Let's be
Well, yeah,
honest.
that's fine.
But it would be interesting to see. I think Nvidia have shot themselves in the foot here. People are still going to buy the 40 series card. I don't think that's an issue there.
Yeah.
But given that that this is now added some confusion into it. Talking of the 40 series, though, did you see that about the 40 series power supplies melting
Oh
or the
yeah,
cables?
the connector, the cables,
Power
yeah, all the
connectors, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
So last week, wasn't it? Nvidia are now investigating reports apparently of power cables either melting or burning. Now, these posts were on Reddit, I think. I think it was
They
Reddit.
were, yeah, yeah,
Somebody showed off, and these are official power card connector cards, aren't they?
they were,
So
yes.
Nvidia branded, showing serious, thermal damage all to the edges of the card. I mean, that's quite concerning. And then the bus on the card shows charring across, I think, two sides of it and two of the pins. I remember, I
Ouch.
think, yeah, it looks a bit like my dishwasher plug, the one that keeps tripping the.
Oh god, yeah. But apparently it's because these new 12-pin ones. I've got a 12-pin on my 3070 Ti. But obviously it's not putting anywhere near as much power for it because mine only takes 2 8-pins into it. Well, also
Yeah.
the 4090 takes 4 8-pins into it. So that's 32 pins into 12 power wise. Yeah, there's a lot of power being done for a very small connector, and apparently it doesn't like being bent very much.
No, so I was reading about this, and there's one of the industry bodies, which is PCI-SIG,
Yes.
and who do standards around peripheral cables, component data transfers. They put a paper out in September. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I did. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that showed the damage that can be done. Was it thermal? What was the note? Hang on, let me look at my notes. Thermal variance. That was it. That could, under safety issues, under certain conditions. And there's a whole piece of thermal pictures of the heat loading through these cables. I mean,
But yeah, I think the problem is, I think even they pointed out you can't bend it very much, the cable. But the 4090 is so big that most cases you have to bend it a fair bit to be able to actually
yeah.
shut the case.
Well, that was it, wasn't it? Like you say, bend condition failures observed on both rows of pins depending on the load direction. Hotspots observed at 2.5 hours, melting time 10 to 30 hours. Also observed after high mating cycles. Sorry,
Oh,
childish
yep.
laugh. Straight plug without side load. So 2.5 hours. If you're on a like gaming session, that's what can I smell?
Yeah.
No,
It's not the smell of death of the people you're killing in your FPS.
it's the
That's the
smell
smell
of
of your
death of your
GPU.
yes.
I think what Nvidia need to do, they need to bring out a right-angled one. There's one company called Cable Mod who are making right-angled ones, so you obviously you have none of the bend on
And
it,
then
which are
no
meant to be really
issues.
good. Yeah, and no issues whatsoever. But obviously they're now in short supply because everyone's buying those.
God, oh God, well, definitely have to stick with AMD then. I think.
Yeah.
Talking of the smell of death.
Oh God, yeah.
So, Twitter is no longer a private company. As of Thursday last week, Twitter is now a privately owned company owned by Elon Musk. Though
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, that Elon Musk directly, or is that through some weird shell company? Who knows?
Who
But
knows?
Elon
Yeah.
Musk is the owner, and he famously walked into Twitter HQ in San Francisco last week carrying a sink, didn't he?
Yeah, I saw some pictures,
I'm
but
not
didn't
quite sure what the
get what he was
relevance
getting at there. It's
is.
cleaning
That the
house?
whole.
No, that's not cleaning house. You'd be a duster for that, maybe. I'm not
I
sure.
mean, is it the whole kitchen sink? I don't know. I mean, very peculiar. But he now is the proud owner of Twitter, and well, like a bad smell in a lift. Everybody has, everybody's got their thoughts on who it might be, and several people have exited that lift rather quickly, haven't they? So the whole of the,
Well,
well, I say
yeah,
the bulk of the executive suite have exited Twitter with rather large payoffs, including the
I think they
CEO.
were pushed though, weren't they?
Well, yes and no. So I see it this two ways. I see this as classic acquisition, isn't it? Where typically when large companies are acquired, the top brass tend to walk, don't they?
But
Because
there's usually a handover period, isn't there?
there is usually
Well,
a
we're not
handover
talking
period.
hours. We're usually talking months, potentially a year, year and a half, not hours.
Yeah, you're right. But the CEO, Parag Agarwal, has gone,
Yep.
and he left with, I think, $40 odd million, wasn't it? I think as a payoff.
See, I've not seen the figures yet. I've obviously missed this one. So 40
Yeah, so around
million.
40 odd
Okay.
million. The
He's not been in the
ex
job very long, has he?
he's about a year, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. That's not bad for a year's work. I'd take that
or
deal.
also gone, is the CEO, CFO, excuse me, which
Yep.
was no, sorry, Ned Siegel, who's the CFO. Ned Siegel, he apparently around $25 million in terms of, I think what you've got there is the golden parachute, they call it, don't they?
They
And
do.
also all of their shares automatically vest as well.
Nice. I want to get a golden parachute written into my next contract. I think I
I would like
deserve
that,
one.
yeah. He also fired the top lawyer for the firm as well,
Oh, did he?
Vijaya
That's because he
Gade.
was coming after him.
Oh, she,
That was personal. Yeah, that
yeah,
was personal.
Sean Edgar, who's also the company's general counsel, the chief customer officer Sarah Personette, also left, and Musk is going to take over as CEO. But apparently, that could be, according to Bloomberg, at least, they think that may be interim, as he may want to bring somebody in to run it for him.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. So they, basically a clean house. But before this story broke, another
Which is
story
what I
broke,
wrote
didn't
my
it?
notes on. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, well, I just thought it was important we got that out. But
Definitely.
there's a, there's this whole merger though is just murky and dirty, isn't it?
Oh,
Really?
it is. Yeah. But yeah, so what we originally started the story on, basically, Elon Musk, he's actually under investigation by federal authorities, apparently, for his conduct in connection with the acquisition of Twitter. It seems that throughout this, Musk lawyers, have been referring to multiple documents in their filings, but never actually submitted those documents to Twitter to review. So they talked
Oh dear.
about, was it emails and presentations to the SEC and FTC, but wouldn't hand those over to Twitter during the trial or lead it up to the trial. And even though Twitter had been asking since, when was it? It was since June at some point, and they still don't have copies of these documents. Yeah, so yeah, all very, very murky. But I suppose most of it's now moot, is it? That Musk owns it?
Yeah, but surely though they can, the FTC, sorry, the SEC, isn't it? Sorry, the SEC.
Yeah,
Surely they can still do him for this.
they'd love to. I'm sure they would. They don't particularly like the man.
No, because I think they're
I
going to
don't.
get. I think Twitter's shares get delisted later this month.
Do they? Okay. Yep.
Um, I think I think they're going to be delisted. I want to say I think it was the second week of November. No, November the 8th. Sorry, I knew I had it written down somewhere. November the 8th, they'll get delisted. So
Okay.
I still think the SEC can do him though, because they were a private company. This whole merger is there. But
Yeah.
what was interesting, I think, obviously about as you say, with this going on, is I think Musk could end up here in a bad position because don't forget how this is being funded.
Yeah, this isn't really a lot of Musk money. There's a lot of external people helping with the money, isn't there? But where's the rest come from? Tesla, is it? I imagine.
Well, it's pegged on his Tesla stock.
Yeah.
So it's and also apparently he is not going to pick up the debt for Twitter either personally. So that's
Right.
going
So
to get
who's paying
written
that
back.
one?
That goes back onto the books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
basically, so the purchase price was around 44 billion. So I found a really good bit of information about it. So hold fire for a second.
Okay.
So the purchase price was around 44 billion.
Yep.
So apparently that was then used between a combination of financing, equity, and a loan against Tesla stock. So
Right.
there's $21 billion in equity,
Yep.
12.5 billion is in finance, and
Yep.
the rest is secured against his Tesla stock.
Right. Ouch. Yeah.
The
Okay.
loan that's on the Tesla stock is down $360 from the time of the original deal to last I think it was this I want to say yesterday around $228.
Wow.
So
Okay. Yep.
as that so basically what you've got to remember here then is he's secured the loan against the stock. If the stock value drops, then the loan value isn't the same, so he has to then use more stock than originally planned.
Yes. But I presume there's a date at some point when that's finalized.
Yeah, but it turns out that with this financing deal, the financing and the bank, whoever is it, can force
Yeah.
Elon Musk to sell stock or cover the difference with cash or stock if the price drops.
Ooh.
So if Twitter doesn't earn money, that's gonna have a knock-on effect to Tesla stock prices, which means then that more Tesla stock or cash from Tesla would have to be put into Twitter.
Mm.
So basically, then you end up with a problem here that if Twitter falls, it could take it not it might not, but it could take Tesla
Could
down.
take out. Has Twitter ever made money? I mean,
No.
I don't know on their. I don't think it has. It's one of those ones that's still hemorrhaging cash. Is it?
So Twitter's debt, as I said, he's not taking that as personal debt. It's going on the books. It's Twitter's been operating at a loss for pretty much all of it, yeah, since it started. However, it has been in profit recently.
Okay.
Um, what do you reckon the debt financing that debt's going to cost?
I don't even know what the debt is.
Well, the debt is I think they said it was around where did I did so there was two, well they've just lost 200 million
Yep.
because that was to pay out the executives.
Yep.
Last year Twitter lost 221 million. The year before that it lost 1.1 billion. So at the moment the debt coverage is around $1 billion a year to cover that. Musk reckons he can double revenue within 3 years, but apparently he's not said anything about profit.
No.
And
I
ninety two
don't think
percent
he'll be there in 3 years.
no, ninety
I
two
reckon a year
percent
will sell it off.
yeah, well 92% of Twitter's revenue is all from ads. So I'll just leave that there for ads, and that was the thought. Yeah,
Yeah, I reckon give it a
yeah.
year and a half, and he'll be selling this.
I think he will. I don't think this is long term. This is all apparently part of his plan, wasn't it? What did he call that application he called? You know
App
that
X or something, isn't it?
Apex, isn't it? Yeah. It's not gonna happen. He has gone through with this deal because he couldn't get out of it.
Yeah. It was
You
cheaper
know.
to go, you know what, at this point, I'll buy rather than carry on fighting because I'll sell it a bit later.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you know there is a domain called x.com?
Is there really? That sounds saucy.
Guess who owns it?
I'm guessing it's not Musk.
It is Musk. He owns X.com. Apparently,
He is.
he bought the domain back in 1999 with several of his co-founders, and it was an online bank.
Oh,
Um,
what? Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Did not see that coming. A bank.
yeah.
All
If you go to X.com now, or I don't know if it still does. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't tried this, but
No, I just
apparently,
get a white page of just an X on it.
yeah, that's it. Yes, that's right. Apparently, previously it redirected you to the Boring Company.
Right. I'm gonna go to the Wayback Machine and see what I can see.
Yeah, but yeah, so there you go. But I don't think you're right. I think he'll get rid of this. I think he'll exit it, whether that is through sale or whether that's through, I don't know, taking it public again. It just isn't. I just don't think it's for the long run. You're right. But on the other hand, I like Twitter, and given the fact that Donald Trump's been allowed to come back, hasn't he?
Oh God, yes, he has. Yeah.
I dread to think, the amount of people that could come back. Well, did you see the other thing that he wants to put together a moderation council?
I thought it was going to be unmoderated. I thought it was anything goes now.
So no, they're going to have a moderation council, and that moderation council will will cover all decisions. I saw that tweet, and guess then somebody else tweeted him to say, "Hire me, George Galloway."
Really?
George Galloway's Twitter bio has that stamp that says Russian state-affiliated media. I just could not but laugh,
man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, so
moving on.
moving on. Yeah, sorry, because the whole Twitter thing is it's just like a nuclear explosion in a teacup, isn't it? It really is.
Oh, it is.
Right.
Some good news if you live in America.
Yes.
You want some fast and speedy internet. So it was only a week or two ago. I think we spoke about Google
episode 106.
And they were they were trialing up to 100. No, the plan was up to 100 gig in the next couple of years, wasn't it? Symmetrical.
It was.
And they trialed 20 gig at some high up person, their private property at their house. But anyway, they've just announced they're actually going to be rolling out 5 and 8 gig symmetrical in early 2023. And the pricing, $125 for 5 gig or $150 for 8 gig symmetrical.
And I know it's nuts. I mean,
I mean, obviously, I was going to say, they're not widespread, are they? Google Fiber.
No, I mean that's about 110 quid for the 5 gig line.
I'd pay that. It's not much more I'm paying for
given I'm paying 60 odd quid at the moment for Virgin.
My 500 meg.
I'm
paying 75 because I've got a business line.
I feel it's a good investment. That would be.
Oh god, I'd have that. I mean, actually, if you want it before 2023 and you live in Kansas City, West Des Moines, or Utah, the whole of Utah, apparently.
The whole of Utah.
I was just like, the other two are cities, and this is the whole state. But anyway, if you live in one of those 3 places, you can sign up to become a trusted tester and get it starting from tomorrow, November.
Wow.
Was tomorrow November or was Tuesday November? Where are we? Oh, Tuesday's November. Tuesday's November, but yeah, soon.
But that trusted sign up says that apparently Google will ask you, how do you plan to use the bandwidth, don't they?
Adult content. Lots of adult content.
I wasn't sure whether use groups was an acceptable answer either.
I don't know.
I plan to download everything.
I'm pirate. Yeah.
I mean, no, I plan to host my own torrent site. I mean, the exact. So what was it? In the Story from Engadget, they were saying around. They gave the example of Flight Sim, didn't they? So Flight Sim is 150 gig download, which takes apparently 11 minutes in idle conditions at 2 gig. Yeah. And if you take the 8 gig plan, that's like less than 3 minutes in ideal conditions. Oh my god! I
need that in my life. The amount of times I open up Flight Sim, and of course, it only updates within Flight Sim, even though it's an app from the store. While the update's not on the store, so you have to update the main executable from the store, then open it up, and it's full screen, eating through your GPU, warming up your PC, just to then spend 2 hours downloading the update. It means I never actually get to play it.
Don't.
It's infuriating.
It does infuriate me a lot. But
So
yeah, I mean,
I would pay the $150 a month just to get rid of that infuriation.
I mean, I'm well up for that. I mean, if you do live in one of those areas, apparently Comcast offer a 6 gig service, apparently, but
Okay.
$300 a month, and that's not symmetrical either.
No, it's not, is it? Wow.
I
Yeah.
just,
Our internet in the UK isn't symmetrical either, is it? So you've got a gig
no,
down, but 50 meg up. Yeah.
sorry, let's start to stifle a larger laugh there. No, it's not. But this
And it
kind of
doesn't
stuff.
scale. So you've got a gig down, 50 meg up, and I've got 500 down, 50 up.
No, it doesn't scale.
So it's not like you think, wow, he's gone from 500 to a gig, so we'll take it to 50 to 100 on the up. No, just
Well,
50.
hang on. Well, let's just pause for a second there as well, and don't forget that Virgin Media. I've managed to get them to give me the new Super Hub 5, haven't I? Which
You have.
if you're on Virgin Media in the UK, the device they give you their own all-in-one modem /
gateway
Wi-Fi,
thingy, yeah.
called the Super Hub. Now these have been piles of steaming dog manure for a little while, but they've got better. The Super Hub 5 now is the latest incarnation, which they've been offering to certain consumers. You can apply for it. I did apply for it, then they told me I couldn't have it, so I tried again.
And the parcel arrived.
And they gave me it. But the reason I wanted it, not because it's got Wi-Fi 6, which is great, but
I've
I'm
heard
not using it.
The Wi-Fi on it is still crap on the Hub 5.
We run it in modem mode, don't we? So it's not really a
Exactly.
problem. But the LAN port has got the WAN port, excuse me, has got a 2.5 gig WAN port on it.
No, it's the LAN port. It doesn't have
Is
a
it the
WAN
LAN
port,
port?
does it?
Oh,
No,
no,
it
well,
doesn't have
no,
a WAN
well-
because that's the coax. It's the LAN
Well,
port.
yeah, sorry.
One of them,
yes.
anyway.
I guess pseudo WAN, the fact because I'm running it into the firewall, aren't I suppose?
Of course, yes.
But yes, the LAN port, excuse me, it's got four Ethernet ports on the back, one of which is 2.5 gig rated. Well, that's awesome, but hang on a minute. They only do a 1 gig service.
Slightly over spec, isn't it?
It is. Well, according to Virgin Media and some independent testing, their average speed is 1.1 gig. So my plan, isn't it, is to now test that to see whether I can get a
plan that went wrong on Friday.
Yes,
when
but
you had
yes,
a bit of downtime.
Another story, but yeah. But I guess with these Google Fiber ones, are they how are they doing that? Isn't it something you have to have some kit in the house, don't you, that has its own?
Well, I'm getting it's fibre. So you'll have an
termination?
ONT come in, won't you? ONT come in, which is where the fibre terminates.
Yeah.
And it will then go into some modem provided by them. But I'm guessing they're not providing 10 gig ports on the back. I don't know what they're providing.
Oh, I'd love to know. We need to know somebody in America who can afford
Google this one.
Google
What is it?
literally Google it.
Maybe there is a 10 gig SFP or 10 gig copper on it. Surely, because otherwise there's no way you could use that 8 gig.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Surely. So I just did a quick Google. And this was last year. Somebody says here, I'm looking for a switch that supports 2.5 gig SFP module from Google Fiber 2 gig service. Recently got Google Fiber with 2 gig. Their router does not provide you to modify anything except the Wi-Fi SSD. Oh no!
Oh, wow.
Oh well, that tells you something you don't need to know. Isn't it? So,
That's locked down, is it then?
yeah, that surprised me. Anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole there. So yes, Google Fiber now offering up to 8 gig if you live in the United States. Fantastic. I mean, it's coming. I mean, North Korea, the US, what's it? Basically, Norway, Finland, and Sweden all flying along with superb internet speeds. Here in the UK, still stuck in the proverbial dark ages. It feels like, doesn't it?
Nice. Yeah.
So then. Right, oh dear. So Brazil, if you are watching the news at the moment, you'll know that Brazil is in the midst of an election runoff, isn't it? The two presidential contenders, Bolsonaro and Lula, that is the gentleman's name, are currently in a race to become the president of Brazil. And apparently the polls are due in, I think this Sunday evening, 31st of October. So it should be, as we get this, as we record this, the results should be in. And I think from what I saw earlier, I was doing a quick Google on this. Bolsonaro is leading the vote by around 51%. Now, Brazil, what are you thinking? Why am I saying Brazil? Well, if you live in Brazil do not like the fact that Apple have not included a charger with its latest iPhones. In fact, so much so, it has fined Apple a 100 million real fine last Thursday.
Yep.
2 weeks ago, Thursday, excuse me, which is around $20 million, which isn't a massive fine. But
This
apparently,
isn't the only time they find them, though, is
no,
it?
I was going to say, this is coming from the Brazilian Consumers Association, and
It is.
it's told Apple they've got to start selling chargers with the iPhone 12 and 13. And they've
These
also
people
told
be the
them,
only people in the world that are doing this, though, because
yeah,
everyone
they've
else is
also,
saying we should stop packing these because
yeah,
it's just waste. But Brazil are like, no, I want my charger.
and it said they've told them they've got to also then provide chargers to people who bought the 12 and 13 over the last 2 years.
Last 2
I
years, yeah.
mean, this is, don't forget, this is the same country that with those presidential campaigns that we've just mentioned, have done massive deforestation across the Amazon. In fact, both of them have done so. Under Bolsonaro, the deforestation increased. The other guy, Lula, plans to crack it down on it. But Bolsonaro seems to be quite, I don't know what it is. It seems to be quite intent on deforestation. So the fact this country wants to slap some more, non-eco-friendly stuff into that, I'm really not surprised. I mean, quite frankly, it is backwards, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It is. The statement from the judge basically says that not bundling a charger with the phones requires consumers to purchase a second product in order for the first to work.
Does it?
Now, I think this is an odd statement. Well, you apparently need a charger to make the phone work.
Well, fair play.
But what if you've already got a USB cable or a Wi-Fi, a wireless charger? Anyway, regardless, odd statement to me because you also require a cellular plan to make your phone work on the internet. Apple doesn't provide that. I mean, I'd go as far as say Ford doesn't provide petrol with their cars, but you need petrol to make the car work. Should Ford now provide a lifetime amount of petrol?
I'm ringing BMW
for
tomorrow.
everyone?
I'm ringing BMW tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's just a really weird thing to say because it doesn't seem to apply to anything else within the country.
But I mean, like you say, unless you are a brand new consumer that's never had a phone before, theoretically, you're going to have some kind of charging device. And yes, not all of them are going to have detachable USB chargers, but the majority of phones made in the last, let's say 3 years, 4 years, maybe, most of them, the USB cable unplugs from the charger, doesn't it? In most cases.
It does. And Apple provide the cable.
Bingo. So you use nothing to stop you plugging it into another USB charger.
Nope. Or the USB port on your TV, or on your computer, or in your car, or... Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine the EU can't. I mean, the EU have gone surging forward with the USB-C mandate, aren't they?
Yes, they have, yeah.
Which I think it's fair to say, we can probably say at this stage that Apple have capitulated, haven't they?
They
have stated now they will move forward to USB-C, which I think we've talked about this a few times. I'm not surprised by it. I imagine it was always going to be the case that USB-C was going to be there in perhaps with the iPhone 15, because every other Apple device now, bar the AirPods, isn't it? Yeah.
And the 9th gen iPad, which is still for sale.
But let's say all current hardware, bar the AirPods, has moved to USB-C, which we'll cover later on.
The new AirPods? Oh, no, sorry, no, it's the AirPod Pros, aren't they? Yep, sorry. The AirPod Pros are USB-C now.
Do you know I haven't checked my case? I'll have to go check my case. Maybe the charging case.
I'm pretty sure it's USB-C on the
I haven't got the charging
Pros.
case on me. They're in my coat, but yeah, I'll check because the last AirPod Pros weren't.
No, they weren't. But I'm pretty sure that was one of the upgrades this time.
But yeah, maybe go. So Apple are going to move to it, but which isn't a surprise. But if you're if you're an anti-Apple person, it was a cold day in hell as they said yes, we're going to move to USB-C. But
John Pross has got some more shaving to do.
He has indeed. So last week we also talked about, didn't we, the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal and how the CMA have got a bee in their bonnet, haven't they? Or actually, the CMA pretty much have taken Sony's case up on their behalf.
They've just gotten Sony to write it for them, I think.
They've basically decided to become Sony's legal team. Well, Microsoft have now come back with a statement, haven't they? And really kind of also made some other... I
Yeah,
want to say claims, but another statement concerning one major
they
game launch
have.
that happened this Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. So it's basically it was more juicy details, I should say. Obviously, come from the this investigation. Basically, in Microsoft's submission, there was a footnote that was kind of glaring, wasn't it? It basically
Yeah,
reveals that
massive.
Sony and Activision Blizzard have a deal that restricts Call of Duty on Game Pass. The whole Call of Duty franchise is not allowed on Game Pass due to a deal Sony and Activision Blizzard have.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is. So I mean, let's let that sink in a minute. So, Sony, who are moaning that Microsoft's purchase of Activision would stop games like Call of Duty being available on PlayStation, even though MS have promised to honor all contracts, including that one about putting it on Game Pass.
Yep.
Uh, but Sony have, in fact, been making deals to stop said games appearing on rival platforms. They've been doing what they're accusing Microsoft of maybe doing.
Exactly. And Microsoft, in a kind of funny, ironic way, are now having to honor that deal and restrict players on Game Pass from enjoying Call of Duty, which in turn could drive, more sales of those games in the long run.
Yep.
Because you and I were talking about this the other day, because you and I, well, I particularly, and you yourself, and I were quite interested. The new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, both agree it looks pretty good fun, doesn't it?
It looks,
We're both
good, yeah.
I haven't played a Call of Duty game in a long time, but I was like, I really fancy getting into that. It's not on Game Pass. So I'm like, that's 60 quid, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not to say not to say we shouldn't pay the money, because developers have put, time and effort into making that game. That's not my point. But actually, if Call of Duty was on Game Pass as a back catalogue, I tell you what, let's drop into one of the older games and enjoy one of them and think about it. And that might be more likely then to maybe spend the money. It's a possibility, isn't it? But the fact that we can't even do that.
And what likely happens, actually, and I find this myself quite a lot, I don't know about you, but when I play a game on Game Pass, if I enjoy it, I usually end up buying the DLC.
Well, yes, yeah, definitely. We've done that with Forza, haven't we, for example?
We have, yeah. I bought I bought all the DLC for Forza 4. I've got all the DLC that's currently out for Forza 5. I didn't pay for the game, but I bought the DLC.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You're right. We're going to do that. So we are putting money back into the ecosystem. And let's be honest, Call of Duty comes with a hell of a load of DLC. I've already seen some of the stuff that was out. But to me, you're right. This is a absolute put it on a pedestal point that Sony are trying to argue against. Absolutely. And it says, you say the restriction lasts a number of years. They haven't said how many years, have they? It just says a number of years.
No, I've not heard that one. A number of years. Sony obviously paid them quite a bit of money to do that, I'm sure.
It just absolutely, just beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the fact that Microsoft is willing to not put what would be first-party games on Game Pass, if the deal went through, that's a big concession. I mean, they put every other first-party game on Game Pass day of release. So the fact they're still quite happy to go ahead and say, look, we're going to honour that contract. We won't put it on Game Pass at all. Well, obviously, until the contract runs out. It's a big concession, but obviously Sony still aren't happy with that.
I mean, I can get it if they said we won't have any day one exclusives here. Maybe 3 months or something. To try that I could live with that. It wouldn't be. We've seen that with a couple other games, haven't we? I can't remember. There was one. I can't remember what it was now, but we waited, didn't we, for it? And I could get that, but to have that whole restriction is just absolutely
but none
nuts.
of the franchises allowed on Game Pass.
No, none of it. And there's a hell of a lot of games there, isn't it? Hell of a lot. Absolutely nuts. And people saying, well, Microsoft are monopolizing the game industry. Well, I don't really think that's quite the statement here, is it? I think
Sony are king of paying exclusives and keeping them off other platforms.
Yeah, Microsoft may own everything, but I wouldn't suggest they're monopolizing it, because if it was state monopoly, would argue that you're also closing it down from access to other people. Well, not really, is it?
No.
I mean, so Starfield, we could argue, so Starfield's going to be an Xbox exclusive, isn't it, for Bethesda?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
but there's nothing wrong with exclusive. There's nothing wrong with some games being exclusives, because ultimately you need to have a shiny item, don't you, to draw in. The same way you might get only certain paints on a car or something like that, isn't it? But at some point, that's fine. But you could Starfield isn't COD. Starfield is a brand new game which has no pedigree apart from Skyrim, doesn't it? Really,
Yeah.
Whereas COD is going back 20 years now? Gotta be in it. Must be close to 20 years.
Oh, yeah, exactly, definitely.
I, when I can't even. I'm gonna have to take a punt when Call of Duty Call of Duty 1 was released. Um, you know, the point being is there's a whole back catalogue of games there that are completely locked away.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. But
2003.
oh well, I was close then. I was close.
You
19
were,
years
yeah.
then. 19 years. So that means they put a game out then, like once every year, near enough.
Yep.
Damn.
When did that actually come out at first?
PlayStation, my money's on.
Just trying to figure it out. Call of Duty first one. PC, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360.
And it was linear as hell though. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the first Medal of Honor game?
Oh, it was even on Mac OS. And the N-Gage. Do you remember the
N-Gage?
Yeah,
I remember the N-Gage, yeah. Do you remember the Medal of Honor game though? The first one, I mean.
Oh yeah.
Which was basically going a straight line, wasn't it?
It was very much an on-rails shoot 'em up, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
It was a bit like Time Crisis. Apart from we didn't have light guns.
Time Crisis, I love doing that. Point to the floor, reload, point up again.
I played that at the weekend.
Oh, with the arcade and the pedal, wasn't it? You press the pedal.
Yeah, you do.
Press the pedal to reload, wasn't it? That was it. Yeah. Oh man, so many good times. Well, talking about the deals then.
And the CMA.
And the CMA. So again, we talked about this a little while ago. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. So again, to follow up on this one. So Meta have now been forced to sell Giphy. They have to roll back the deal after they've lost the UK appeal with the CMA. So the CMA has ordered them to how do you deacquisition, or what's the right word? I don't know.
Are they unwinding it and make them independent, or are they just going to sell them to someone else? I'm not sure at this point.
I don't know how it's going to work. So if you buy a company for 400 million, what do? Do you spin it back off and ask for a refund? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Because I'm guessing. What about the people who have then cashed out their shares and left?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about.
Sorry, I know you've left and you're now living. You don't have a job because you're living on the share money, but then we want the money back. Thank you very much. But you can't have your job back.
No,
because we've replaced those with other people.
Oh, and by the way, and like the founders who've got loads of millions, it's like, we can't give you your company back, but can we have my money back as well? It was like, But I mean,
what a mess.
The statement though was kind of a bit weird, wasn't it, from Meta?
Oh, we are disappointed by the CMA's decision, but accept today's ruling as the final word on the matter. We will work closely with the CMA on divesting Giphy. We are grateful to the Giphy team during the uncertain time for their business and wish them every success. We'll continue to evaluate opportunities, including through acquisition, to bring innovation and choice to more people in the UK and around the world.
Basically, that was two fingers up at the CMA going, right, we're going to buy somebody else now.
yeah, exactly. Another one. I'm going to have to keep an eye on this one, see how this actually plays out. Yeah,
I'm interested to know because I can't remember, what happened. Is the Giphy CEO going to come back? There's questions everywhere for me on this one, and because there was two founders, Jace Cook and Alex Chung. Did they go off and do, into the sunset? I'm curious, where are these guys?
Because I don't think they're working for the company anymore, are they?
Don't know, but bizarre,
Yeah.
Very odd, but yeah. So bye Giphy, bye Giphy.
Indeed. Oh, talking of bye a lot of money for Amazon.
Bye.
So Amazon, they're facing a $1 billion lawsuit that claims its BusyBox algorithm. Sorry, it's BuyBox, not BusyBox. Sorry, BuyBox. Blah 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 blah. Its BuyBox algorithm breaks competition laws by unfairly favouring products sold by Amazon and its preferred vendors. Yeah.
Are you shocked by this? I'm not.
No. So this is a class action, but it's in the UK. So basically been bought by a consumer rights warrior, Julie Hunter. So against Amazon in the UK using the Competition Appeal Tribunal. Yeah, they're basically just claiming the algorithms they use. Yeah, they favor Amazon's own stuff as well as approved vendors who agree to be in the scheme, and yeah, they kind of cut out the rest of the competition that are trying to sell on Amazon who haven't agreed to this preferred vendor program.
So this is saying that if people see the retailers or merchants that sign up for pro merchant accounts then and pay money to Amazon and get closing fees, get buy box.
Yeah. Basically,
and
you
if you
appear on
don't,
the first X number of pages, and if you don't, you're never found.
But isn't that no different? I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying, is that no different to paying money to get sponsored on Google? You know what they used to be called ads, but now called sponsored pages, aren't they?
Well, yeah, it's basically advertising, isn't it?
Again, I'm not suggesting that's
advertising
right.
is a pay-to-play game.
Yeah. So surely, though, if you pay the money, you're going to get a better position than somebody who can't pay money. But that's capitalism.
But it is. But I think some of the argument they're saying is that even if you're a reputable vendor and your price is the cheapest, and obviously Amazon are apparently meant to do what's good for the consumer, but if you haven't paid into this scheme, then you're relegated down the page and hidden away and obscure, never to be seen, even if you got the best deal for the consumer.
Well, there you go. There you go. I mean, yeah, it's not good. But
yeah, it's an interesting. We'll see how this plays out. I mean, they're facing similar allegations in the US. In California, actually, they're basically claiming that it maintains its dominance by punishing sellers who list their goods on other sites at lower prices by threatening to remove them from the buy box feature for their items.
Yeah, that I have to say, Amazon. There's been rumors of that before, isn't it? That they play dirty there. But I just
that's a definite no one, I think.
Yeah, you don't get to be though the biggest force in retail by playing clean.
Not at all. You don't get to be the biggest in anything by playing clean, really.
Not really.
No,
not really. Problem is though with Amazon, and I don't know whether you find this now, is that you got to. I find myself going through who the sellers, because sometimes you see something, you think, oh, is that sold by? It says Prime, thinks Amazon. Then you got to quickly check: is that being sold by Amazon?
Yeah.
Or is that being sold by somebody else and fulfilled? And you kind of then look at the pricing, and you're like, well, actually, maybe I'll just spend a couple of quid and get it from this retailer because I trust them more.
Yeah. No, I try and do that one as well.
Amazon is my go-to shop for pretty much everything. Doesn't mean it's always the cheapest.
No, but if something's gone wrong, generally there's no hassle in getting it returned or exchanged. Generally, not always. Sometimes, yeah, but generally it's a lot easier to deal with them than a third party.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Quick example of that, isn't it? I've just returned an SSD to them. As we said, it took me a while to get that done, not because they were trying to be difficult, but purely because I just had to get through to the right people to try and help me, understand the issue. But ultimately, they decided to refund it. Now, they can't replace it because I bought it through Amazon
Warehouse, wasn't it?
Warehouse, thank you. But so they can give me the money. But they still replaced it because Amazon's is about the customer, isn't it? Keep the customer happy, and they'll come back.
Yep, people do.
And people do, every time. But glad we're not selling on there anyway. Right then, change of tack. So, if you have been living under a rock, or if you've not been living under a rock, you may have missed that there was an Apple hardware event. But there wasn't a hardware event. There was an Apple press release about a hardware event.
There was an email floating around somewhere that probably got trapped in my spam.
Yes. So when was it? What was the date? I can't remember. Was it a week ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, a good week or so ago by now, yeah.
But Apple have announced some new hardware, which is, to be fair, given the press release that came out, I think it kind of what Gurman and Michin Kuo and a few of the other leakers / speculators were all saying was that Apple were going to send. We're going to do this, weren't they? You know.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't going to be an event. It was originally event planned. 'Cause I think it was going to be a bit bigger. Well, we were expecting to see Macs as well, but I have heard that we're not going to see the MacBooks till next year now, potentially next March. So yeah, we didn't get much in the news release. Did we? We got the new OG iPad, the iPad 10th gen.
Yeah, entry level, if you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, what do we get on that? So
I've got some serious thoughts on this. So you crack off first.
I have, yeah. So what do we get? Let's have a look. So the odd thing is they're keeping the 9th gen around. So this now sits in between the 9th gen and the iPad Air.
Yeah, this is, I suppose, a bit like, though, isn't it? The fact that the iPhone 14 is still exists, but the iPhone 13 is still in the run-up kind of view.
It does. And it basically it's a cut down Air. It looks identical though. Looking at the measurements, they're not quite the same, are they? They're like a mil here difference, a mil that, and it's slightly heavier, but it looks identical to the iPad Air. Apart from you've got an A14 instead of an M1 chip, which is obviously an upgrade from the, I think was it the A13 in the 9th gen. You've got the displays are basically identical. Apart from if you go for the Air and spend a bit more money, you're getting that anti-reflective coating, fully laminated display, and P3 color gamut. It's got USB-C, no headphone jack, so identical to the Air. The storage is the same, 64 gig or 256, same as the Air. It's got a Touch ID and a power button, same as the Air.
You see
yeah,
where I'm
there's a theme here. Yeah,
you see where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yeah. So it has, the Air doesn't though, is a front-facing camera down the landscape edge to better support center stage. And this is the one where my mind boggles. So it's got pencil support. Hurrah! It's the 1st gen pencil support. And it's got a new Magic Folio keyboard, a brand new one, completely different from all the others. But wait a sec, the 1st gen Apple Pencil is Lightning. And this only has USB-C. So yes, there's another dongle. Yours for £9 or dollars because it's identical. And that's a Lightning. No, it's a USB-C to Lightning connector.
Right.
Okay. Oh, one more thing. This made me laugh. It comes in 4 colors.
Oh, I like the colors.
They're not stupid names. They're just
No.
blue, pink, silver, yellow.
I really
There's
like
no
the colours.
Starlight or whatever or Pacific Blue. It's just blue, pink, silver, yellow. Fine.
I don't understand why this device exists. Because what it is, by the way, what that is the iPad Air from 2020.
Oh, is it? Just a different chassis?
The iPad Air from 2020
Yep.
has got A14, not A14X, but A14.
Yep.
Comes in 64 and 256. Comes in 10.9 liquid retina. 12 meg rear wide camera. Up to 4K at 60 frames. Front camera is 7 meg to true depth. Supports wireless 6.
Okay, so it's got they've upgraded the camera slightly on the front then.
Yeah. Supports wireless Wi-Fi 6 and supports 4G LTE, so not 5G. And basically the rest is, the weight stuff.
So this is clearing excess inventory.
To
Slap
me,
it in a new case.
Right? Yeah, and the other thing is the price has gone up.
Yeah, it's not the same price as 9th gen. It's $449. It's starting at $449, isn't it?
Well, $449, but if you're in the UK, it's $599. It's $499. Sorry, yeah, $499. But for me, if I was going to buy one of these, I would, if I was spending that, that was my budget, I would think about buying. So if that was my budget or I had a little bit more to spare, I'd buy a new Air, because you get more bang for buck.
I might buy an older iPad Pro.
Or I might buy the Apple iPad Air from 2020, from 2 years ago, because it's the same bloody device and you get it for cheaper. The difference being, though, you'd probably you're going to lose 2 iOS cycles probably on that, aren't you? Being 2 years.
Yeah.
But apart from the colours, I have to be honest with you, I don't understand it.
No, it's a weird one.
I mean, the only thing it does, in my view, and I think all the points you listed, I won't go over them, but I think the ones I will say is USB-C makes perfect sense because now it matches everything else in the lineup.
Yeah.
It also has the same chassis lineup as well. Again, makes perfect sense because
They
you've got
are slightly different dimensions than the
yeah,
Air.
but it's got the same chassis style though, isn't it?
It
If you
has,
will.
yeah. It looks the same. They've just made it slightly different. So if you've got an Air case, it's not going to fit on your 10th gen.
No, Wi-Fi 6 and 5G again, perfect. Now that's not Wi-Fi 6E. That's just still Wi-Fi 6, but it's still and battery life is good. But it's an entry level device. The whole
Yeah.
Apple Pencil thing is a joke, though. I believe they are repackaging the Apple Pencils with the dongle now. If you buy a
Oh,
first
are
gen,
they? And I'm guessing
yeah,
that's
and
because the Air only supported the first gen and not the
yeah,
second.
this yeah, but it does support the second gen now.
The new Air does, but the old Air, which it was based on, doesn't. I'm imagining.
No, second gen keyboard. The 2020 Air supports the Gen 2 pencil.
Oh, okay. Then that's a very odd choice.
Yeah, because it clips on the top. It's got the 3 charging points on the top, and
Hmm.
the 2020 Air has the Magic Folio as well. You know, the kind of weird standy job.
But the one they're providing with this is a different one, isn't it? It's a
No,
flat
this is a
one.
kick. Yeah, this is. Do you know what this reminds me of? Surface.
Surface, yeah.
But to me, the biggest issue is the price. Like
Yeah.
100 in the UK, that's nearly over £100 difference.
Yeah, I think at that kind of price. When does the new Air start?
So the
600,
new
is it?
Air, if you want to buy a new iPad Air today, let's just stick with the UK for a second. That's going to cost me 669.
It's got 170 quid more. Hmm.
Yeah, and then if we step up to the Pro, which we'll talk about in a second, 899.
Yeah, still quite a bit of difference, but
Still,
yeah.
I just look. I'll give you an example of where I sit with this. So we've been thinking about for our 2 oldest kids this Christmas to get iPads.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, hope
Hope your kids don't listen. Father
no,
Christmas has been thinking about getting you an iPad.
no, I meant what I meant was not as in brand new iPad
Yeah,
Pro, but we kind of secondhand
of
because
course. Yeah.
all their homework these days is on iPad. We use the iPad. So I've got a Pro, and we've got a family
Yeah.
iPad in the house, and all their homework's done through apps these days. Same as your kids is pretty much, isn't it? And actually, it gets a bit of a fight when over one
Oh,
iPad,
it does. Yeah, the fight for
if I'm home.
computers or
So I was
iPads.
like, maybe I'll pick up a secondhand iPad, to do that, and lockdown, of course, secure. We don't do, for us, obviously, it was secured. And I thought, interesting. Apple are launching a new iPad, so that's pretty cool. Maybe if the pricing's the same, that'd be a good investment. Definitely not going to happen at at 499 for
No, it's not,
64
is it?
gig. I'm definitely going to be stepping back, and maybe I could pick up a cheaper iPad Air from 2020, or like as you say, the 9th gen iPad, which is still starts at 329, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah, definitely.
again, it wasn't a hard and fast decision. It was a kind of a thought process.
Yeah,
We're looking at it, but the way Apple pricing is at the minute, I have to say, second hand, used is looking far more attractive than it ever did.
oh,
Far more
definitely.
attractive.
Oh,
But talking then of the iPad Pros,
oh,
then, so they've had a bit of a spec bump too.
yeah. They've just slapped them to an iPad Pro, and that's basically it.
Well, and given them Wi-Fi 6E, haven't
Oh
they?
yeah, okay. So you've got a new chip. You've got Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3. Oh, the 5G modem now supports more networks around the world, so I presume more bands it supports. Wait a sec. There was another one. There's a hover bar for the pencil, isn't there?
Yeah, which apparently is already, if you've already got a Samsung tablet, it already works, doesn't it? And phones, apparently it shows exactly the precision point of where that stylus is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Touching the
but
screen.
that's it. That's all the upgrade for that.
Yeah, because it supports Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, and as you say, the 5G piece. The colors are the same. Storage is the same. The only thing, I don't know if you noticed this. So the new Folio keyboard for the entry level iPad, yeah,
Yep.
has a 14 key function lineup.
Oh really?
Yep.
Hmm.
The iPad Pro Magic Keyboard does not have a function key row.
So you can't have the best of both worlds, then, no?
No, and one other thing, the iPad and the iPad Air both have the camera now in the middle of the screen, don't they?
They do.
For
They have the center
landscape.
one, yeah, for center stage, yeah.
The iPad Pro still is in the corner.
So even with the new one with M2, they still kept it in the corner.
Yeah, because it's the
They
same
just haven't
chassis,
even
isn't it?
tried, have they?
It's just the same chassis, isn't it?
It wouldn't have taken much to change the chassis to
No,
take a hole out of one bit and move a hole to another part, would it?
no. I have to say, I was reading about the iPad Pro, the M2, and I mean, we all knew the iPad is the king of tablets. There's no denying that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the M2 is, to me, this is just like putting a Ferrari engine inside your Ford Mondeo.
Yeah, I mean, the M1 was overkill for the iPad Pro anyway. The M2 is just obscene.
You are not going. In fact, I put this as an open challenge to somebody. Somebody show me an iPad Pro 12.9 gig. Let's go all the way. 12.9 inch, excuse me. Let's spec the thing out. So what's it? 2 terabytes, all the bells and whistles. I want to see an iPad straining. I don't think you can.
I think they did. Did they not announce DaVinci Resolve is coming?
Oh, that is coming. Yeah, that's
that
coming,
might have a stab at it. I imagine, but I still think he's strong because he really can do that huge editing project on an iPad.
But theoretically, you could do because it's got a grunt for it.
Could, but are you?
I think
Because people use those, then have the DaVinci do all the hand controller things with the switch dials and stuff, zooming around. You're not going to be able to plug that into your iPad, I doubt.
Well, who knows? But I think you're right. This is absolutely overkill. I've still got the last, what's it, the 12 A12X version of the iPad, as we know.
Yeah, I've got the one before you. Yeah,
and the A12X is still keeping up very well.
Mine's the ones before you, so I think is that the A11 or A10X. I don't think it was an A11X.
I think it was A10, wasn't it?
A10X. Yeah, it powers through iOS 16. I don't think I've ever noticed any slowdowns on it. That's why I haven't upgraded it yet. I'd like one of the new chassis designs with USB-C and an M1, but there are more important things to buy at the moment or save for that I just can't justify.
No, I agree.
It would be it'd be a splurge for no particular reason. It's just because I wanted it.
I'm with you 100%. I really like the idea of it, but there's nothing that iPad can do that mine can't theoretically. Now, the difference is it's got a much nicer screen. I really like the folio keypad, with the that would be really nice.
That's the cost of an iPad. Ninth gen on top.
Yeah.
It's crazy pricing.
But I mean, I have to say that 12.9-inch one with the folio keypad with the touch bar, I could use that as a traveling machine when I'm at work.
But it'd be bigger than your Mac.
Yeah, but I'm saying I wouldn't take the Mac. I'd take that.
No. But what I'm saying, it's thicker than your Mac. It's probably heavier than your Mac.
Probably
that keyboard is a chunky boy.
It is quite chunky. It adds quite a bit of weight, doesn't it, to the iPad? You have to say,
yeah.
But but there we go. It's given the fact you've got an M2. If you buy the 1 terabyte or the 2 terabyte storage models, you get an M2 processor and 16 gig of RAM. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But hey ho, Apple had to do something, I suppose, with those M2 kits.
It was like, it's another year's gone around. We need to do something to change it. I'll just slap an M2 in.
So alongside the new iPads, then we also got a new Apple TV 4K, didn't we? That didn't come with an M2 chip.
No, it didn't. But it did get a fairly big upgrade.
It got a hell of a bump up, didn't it? Actually,
it got what? Because the old ones of last year's were A12s. This has gone to an A15 now. I don't know how much RAM's in it, but it's jumped to an A15. It's got support for HDR10 Plus now. Not that it's used very much. That's Samsung's version of Dolby Vision, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the the remote got a USB-C port on it rather than Lightning for charging.
But again, that just makes sense, doesn't it, across the board?
Yeah.
But the pricing didn't really change, did it? I don't proceed.
I haven't noted that there was a price up. But I like the iPad Pro. I didn't notice any price to it, so I didn't write anything down in the notes for it.
No, I think the Apple TV 4K stayed around the same pricing. The new remotes are quite good, I have to say. That's the one thing I don't like on my Apple TV 4Ks is the old style, touch remote.
But the thing that annoys me about the remote, why haven't they put Find My on the remote? The amount of times you lose remotes, if I could just use my phone to find the remote that would.
Normally mine's fallen down the back of the bed. That's where I can't find it. It's
Tucked down between cushions on the
oh,
sofa.
don't. Yeah, but that's the fine though. I just pull my phone out and I use that as a remote when I can't find it.
Yeah, but look, chuck the price up by £5 or £10 and find mine on the remote. I'd happily pay that.
But no, it is good. I mean, we've got a Apple TV in the bedroom, Apple TV downstairs. I use the Apple TV in the bedroom pretty much for everything now. We've got a Sky Q box in there, but I pretty much use Apple TV for nearly everything now. So it is a good little box, and especially now this upgrade, powerful. I think is definitely well. I mean, at some point this device is going to have to be overhauled, isn't it? Really overhauled. But
what more do you?
No, I think from a design, I think they'll end up
design. Yeah, maybe they'll make it a stick. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just thinking from a functionality point of view.
Do you know what? You're right. Actually, it's pretty much perfect in what it does, isn't it?
It's got more grunt than any of the streaming sticks have. It's probably one of the best picture quality wise, streaming wise.
It's beautiful.
I don't have one, but this is what I've heard. You know, I'm still, and it's a very long story for that one. My setup is completely different, old school. But
no, but mine works perfectly. I say we've got two of them, one upstairs, one downstairs. You know, for the 4K downstairs, picture quality is phenomenal. They're both hardwired. No, excuse me. One upstairs is Ethernet. One downstairs is Ethernet. Excuse me. Upstairs is wireless. Absolutely. Absolutely, it is.
It's overkill. It doesn't fit into my setup.
No, I'm just thinking about like any problems with it. No, it streams beautifully. In fact, it does a better job of streaming, you know, bigger media files than any other sticks that we've had or anything like that. You know, because as you say, the power in it and the picture quality is fantastic. So.
Yeah, so we've got Intel NUCs under each TV. You know,
well, that's even more overkill.
So which is they're all i3s. You know, it's massive overkill. But Kodi doesn't really support streaming due to DRM kind of stuff. So my big TV downstairs is a Samsung, just has the apps built in, so we use that for that part. And the other TVs are Samsung upstairs, but it's so old the apps don't work. So I've just spent £30 on a Fire Stick HD. For the odd time we want to stream iPlayer or Amazon On Demand or whatever on the TV.
Money well
I couldn't
spent,
justify an Apple TV for that.
No. It's like, I say, whereas us, because I'm using Plex and everything else, and all of our streaming services are on there, it does a great job, especially with the 4K content. Apple TV content, as we know, is beautiful. You know, let's be honest. I can't wait for Foundation to come back. That's all I can say.
When's it out? It's got to be
next
soon,
year.
Next year still. Oh.
Yeah. Along with Invasion, you know, my other one.
Yeah. So
anyway, talking about Apple
TV,
so I'm on the Apple One subscription.
You are.
As we know, that has gone up to $32 a month for the premium plan, which also, funnily enough, is £32 a month. Isn't that strange?
Oh, yes.
So Apple are using the classic dollar to pound 1-to-1 conversion rate. So it's a three.
Well, lucky it isn't more in that in the UK. Like their pricing for the hardware.
Oh, don't. So basically, it's gone up from £29 roughly to $32.50. That includes obviously Apple One is everything. So the premium plan includes everything. Apple TV, Apple Arcade, Apple Music, 2 terabytes. Now I don't use Apple Arcade, but we've got it. We do use a new service. We do use Apple Fitness. Because originally we had the family plan for Apple Music. Now that's gone up by £2 from just nearly just shy of £17 a month. Given what it is, are we shocked they've gone up? Because it's been a couple of years, isn't it?
No, I mean, obviously, I don't have Apple One. I tried it; it just didn't work out for us. I used to have Apple TV because you used to get it free with a phone. I don't think that's the case anymore, is it? I've not checked. Just because we lost access to it, so I never checked again. But obviously, bought a new phone, so I don't know if I actually get Apple TV or not.
No, I think you only get it on certain hardware now.
So an iPhone 14 Pro Max, top of the range, isn't enough to get your TV subscription anymore.
It is a jump. Let's be honest, a big jump here. If you think of Apple TV, so Apple TV launched on Apple TV launched for free, didn't it? You didn't pay. No, I think.
That was it. I never did. I never paid for it. It just went on for years and years of each new phone I bought. But yeah, I've just checked now. I don't have it with a new phone.
No, but it was $4.99 and it's now gone up to it's gone up by 2 to $6.99.
Yeah.
Given that they haven't increased their price since the launch, theoretically, I don't think we can argue too much with Apple TV
No,
as
it's still
such.
considerably cheaper than Netflix, for example.
And the content, okay, it's not quite the same content as that, but it is getting better. And I saw something the other day, or I heard something the other day, which was really interesting. Was they were doing like some documentaries. So there was a Sidney Poitier documentary and something else, and then after it were several of his films that you could watch.
Okay.
But they weren't Apple. They were from another. They were obviously Apple have got a license for them, but they only were temporary. They were only there for a little while, and
Yeah.
apparently there was some other stuff as well. They keep doing this, so that it's getting a bigger service in that sense. There's much more.
Interesting.
And we get 4K like Disney. You get 4K with no ads. It is a very, very good service in that sense. And there's a lot of good films. Like there's, they bought what's it that Greatest Beer Run. They had Greyhound, also the Tom Hanks film.
Yep.
There's lots of Apple originals that are on there. So for me, I got if that's what you like, it's worth paying. It just seems a bit of a kick in the rear end of everything else going up. That's another £3 on top for the services. But
Yeah. Considering
I
your
don't
phones
know.
went up by quite a considerable amount of money.
It is, and you know what? The problem is you can't argue with it at the moment, can you? Luckily, you and I, to be fair, are in a fortunate position where we can afford these services.
Yeah.
I appreciate not everybody is able to do that, and obviously, for also, I have to think as well. Am I paying money for something I'm not using? I am using majority of the services of Apple One, including the storage. That was the problem we had, wasn't it? The storage.
Oh, yeah. I pay for storage, for the 2 terabytes or whatever it is.
So in that sense, it's got to be done. But we'll get there, mate. We'll get there. I'm sure as long as it doesn't get up to like £40 a month, they might have to turn around and say no thanks.
But do you still have Netflix?
Yeah, we use Netflix. We use Netflix.
You've got Netflix,
so I'm not.
and you've got Disney Plus. You're a
Yeah,
streaming person. Yeah.
But our kids hammer them.
Yeah.
Absolutely hammer them. Right. Netflix and Disney Plus, I get my money's worth out of that. Full stop. Right. Our kids don't really watch normal TV. They watch them.
No, ours don't really either, but they just watch it often as.
Yeah, but and my youngest two, they've got Kindle Fires. The Kindle Fires.
Yep. Ours have got
and
Kindles, not Fires.
Right, yeah. So they've got the kids' Kindle Fires, and obviously there's, it's all kiddie controlled, isn't it, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's time limits on them and all that. But so when they're allowed a bit of what the youngest two call them iPads because it's just easier,
It's just a name, isn't it?
Yeah, they have iPad time when they're allowed a little bit of time, and they like, and we've got, I put on there that they can access Disney Plus on the kids profile only.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
So they love using that. So they watch, kids Disney Plus, and they hammer that, absolutely hammer it. And of course, that's ad free. It's obviously it's not 4K content on there, is it? But
No.
Netflix is my biggest bugbear, and I've said this before. In that, paying for what I pay, and we're on not the basic tier, but the one up.
Do you even get 4K with that?
You don't get 4K for that. No, God, no, you don't.
I would say that you don't put this to one up from the bottom, do you? It's top of the range to get 4K.
Yeah, I'm not paying that. Now, granted, to truth be told, you don't really tell the difference in most cases. But, some of the newer films, it'd be nice to do that. So that's why I tend to use my other equipment like you do for some of the better films that come from Netflix and get them in 4K, and enjoy them properly.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's probably a good place for us to wrap it up for today. We'll be back next week for episode 110. My gosh, 110. Where we've already got a few stories lined up, including information on Meta and the metaverse, which is going to be funny, and a little bit more news on the Apple Lightning to USB-C story. We'll talk a bit more about that in detail next week, along with all of the latest tech news. And the Tech Wrap Rumor Mill should hopefully be back next week as well, if we can dust it off and have a look inside. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at Weekly Tech Wrap, where we post links to all of the shows and the show notes. And our show notes are hosted on techrant.online. As always, please tell your friends about us, give us a like or a share, and we'll see you next time. I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good evening, all.